question is, do planners always need a creative side? And I think this came up when you started talking about mood boards and design. So do planners always need a creative side? I'm more of a process and execution person. How important is this element to planning if I find that I prefer to have a decorator separately? Thoughts?
So I think there's two elements. I think you can be a planner and you can be a designer, and then you can be both. And I'm trying to grow on the design part because execution and logistics and all of that just comes naturally because, again, you know, my training by trade and all of that good stuff. So that's something that I always, the designer title is something that I'm kind of experimenting with, trying to understand a little bit what does it mean. I don't like to use the word decorator because it kind of cheapens the work. I think design is thinking completely holistically, not just pretty flowers, right? Pretty flowers are an element of it, but you have to think from beginning to end, what is that, you know, that couple that those guests gonna experience, and that's your design for not just it's for the room, and it's for you're designing for those guests and that couple, right? So I feel like, you know, that design element of it, you don't necessarily have to. You could be a planner and work, you know, focus on coordination, right? That's one aspect of it. Again, going back to the whole do things that fit your lifestyle and what you want to do. Nobody can force you into being a designer. But if you're going to call yourself a designer, be more than a decorator. Be a designer. Go into that role and understand what it means to design something from a functional perspective and from a beautiful aesthetic, you know, perspective. So that's my take on it.
Perfect. Like Yosira definitely hit the nail right on the head about that. So the word decorator is also a word that I generally don't use. To me, it makes me think of, like, you know, backyard parties, you know, put some balloons on the table and some things, which is not bad, but it's not. Most of the times when we are the kinds of events that we put on, you know, those who are in our program, and also when we talked earlier about leveling up your business, it requires multiple hands, right? It's not one person just coming in with a bunch of decorations. If there's a whole lighting crew, there's a whole floral design crew, there's a whole crew that's doing draping, there's a whole crew that's handling floors, there's a whole nother person handling invitations, right? And the design of that, and the design of menu cards, and all of that. So who's the person in the center who comes up with the concept for everyone, and who's the person who is also like telling everyone what to use, what colors to use, what colors are going to go together, and who's the person who can picture it all coming together before it actually comes together, right? Because of course you can sketch things, you can put things together, but you never know what the event's going to look like until it's put together. I mean, some of my clients, like, they've come to me and actually literally said, oh, I know this is like your thing, you don't like talk about decor with your clients, and you surprise them on the wedding day, and I'm like, no, actually I don't. Like, there's a whole design plan, there's sketches, there's all of this, but the truth is that you still are not going to see it in person, in that room, in that lighting, and in that everything until the wedding day. So a designer is someone who can see it and communicate it to other people so that they can pull all the pieces together to make it happen. That's what makes you a designer. Now, are all event and wedding planners designers? No. Are all florists designers? No. And I think that that's another thing I'm seeing in the industry that's changing a lot, that I'm actually starting to see that fewer florists are designers. I don't know if maybe 10, 20 years ago more of them were, but I'm seeing that fewer and fewer florists are designers, and it is falling more on wedding planners to come up with the design. And what I mean by that is, you know, and I mean, there's no good or bad here, but It's just understanding the role. So a florist who's not a designer comes to you and says, what do you want? Right? Anyone who's not a designer will just say, give me pictures of what you want, because they're not coming up with the concept. But when you're the designer, you're saying, okay, this person likes, you know, I mean, I've had clients come to me and they say they have no idea what they want. They don't know if they want bold colors, they don't know if they want soft colors, they don't know, you know, so I'm taking them through a process to figure out their style. That's what a designer is, right? So when you start, you have to understand that, and I think that's something that also confused, you know, so when you see wedding planners who are also designers, it doesn't mean that they are decorators. Design is not the same as being a decorator. What most people are probably saying is that they will come up with a design, they'll come up with a concept, they'll help you bring your style. That's what I tell my clients, that my goal is to bring your style out, not to put my style on you. Right? That's what I do with my clients. And because I don't want all my weddings to look the same. That's just me. Some people, if all your weddings look similar or the same, that's fine too. It's just that my goal is to bring my style out of you and all of that. That's what makes you a designer. That's why there are stylists and tailors, right? Same thing with clothes. The stylist comes up with the design, and then someone else actually knows how to sew and put it together. You don't need to know how to put flowers together to be a designer. You just need to understand. And it's not even all about flowers, like she said. Like, a lot of people want their stationery, and the stationery on the day of definitely should go, but then there's the stationery from invitations, save the dates, there's the cohesion of everything, there's draping, there's lighting. I mean, there's so many different pieces coming from different people. You have to understand, like she said, the functional. How do I make a floor plan so that the tables and chairs actually fit in the room when we get there the day of and we're not figuring it out again? How do I come up with a lighting plan that makes sense?